The North Platte River in western Nebraska. Flowing from mountains to plains, throughout its existence, this once wild braided river supported cultures throughout time. Indigenous peoples, settlers moving west along the Oregon Trail, and families making a life today in agriculture. Along the path of the river, a unique landscape stands out amongst the rest. It's home to species specially adapted to the harsh terrain, both prey and predator. Through millennia, this land was shaped by the flow of the river and the force of the weather. The Wildcat Hills, wild lands and the high plains. A landscape long forgotten, where hidden springs slowly meander. Taking centuries to carve deep canyons. And where rocky escarpments rise high above valley floors. Islands in a sea of grass. The Wildcat Hills thrive in an era of developed landscapes.
The Wildcat Hills are a truly unique ecosystem.
These are real rugged landscapes. There's lots of nooks and crannies in them, and there's a lot of wildlife.
One of the hidden secrets has been that not too many people know what lives in the Wildcat Hills.
They've become a great resource for this area.
It was really surprising, all the canyons and the rolling hills and the buttes. It was just completely different than anywhere else in Nebraska. Completely unique. It was love at first sight. I wanted to go back, and so I did. Located in the panhandle of Nebraska, the Wildcat Hills span across 55 miles east to west. It all started with backpacking trip.
All right.
There we go.
Spittlebug.
Spittlebug.
I would not have known that it was Nebraska if somebody just dropped me off out there. I probably would have guessed Colorado or Wyoming because Nebraska is supposed to be flat. I was trying to figure out how I could communicate about the conservation going on in the Wildcat Hills. Mike Forsberg mentored me throughout this entire process.
Somebody blindfold you and drop you in the middle of the Wildcat Hills somewhere. I think you'd be amazed that you were in Nebraska. A lot of this land is protected in conservation. If somebody wants to come out to the Wildcat Hills and go walk into this landscape, as long as you're on Platte River Basin environments lands or you're on one of the public lands, you can go till your heart's content. And there's not a lot of places like that in the plains right now.
3B is an acronym for Platte River Basin Environments. Our focus is the North Platte River and the environments that flow into or created by the North Platte River system. Our view was that we should be prepared to do things that would enhance that whole drainage, because we had a broad enough view of things that it's not one little piece at a time, it's watersheds at a time. At stake is that we don't have enough open, contiguous space to support these large herds of bighorn sheep and elk and deer, and then they'll go away. I've ruffled a few feathers saying the most invasive species we have in the West are 40-acre ranchettes. But you end up with a house here, a house there. It just changes that whole landscape. Part of our vision was that we would have large tracts that would forever be unencumbered.
You can get away in the Wildcat Hills. You can walk for 10 straight miles and still be on public land. I mean, if I can go there one time and fall in love with it, so can a lot of other people. But they need to know it's there first.
I've managed Platte River Basin properties for over 20 years. I think in just recent years, we've had the opportunity that a lot of lands have been opened up for public use. It's important for us that people go out and can enjoy the wildlife on these lands.
We knew we needed good science. It's important for us that our lands remain working landscapes. Our managers are really the cattle that our ranchers operate on our land. Pat Reese will tell you that it all starts with the grass.
Over this entire region, there is a phenomenal amount of topography. The diversity of plant and animal species is representative of a large ecotone. It is literally an area where both plant and animal species from the east and west meet. Well over 90% of all the land in the state of Nebraska is in private land ownership. Platte River Basin environments, their commitment to public access and proper management of lands is unbreakable. This is very quick access to wild lands. They are wild.
With recent game cameras and with you, Grant, coming to our area, it's really opened up our eyes to the amount of wildlife that's up there.
One way that I can get people to care about this landscape is by showing them things they normally wouldn't be able to see.
I have chosen to use camera traps and trail cameras. They stay on the landscape. They're motion activated, so when something walks in front of them, it'll trigger that camera. They either take a photo or it'll take a video. One of the camera traps that I have is on top of a butte. It's designated for bighorn sheep.
Bighorn sheep have kind of a white rump, but otherwise are brown in color, and the rams in particular, which have the horns that grow into a curl. One of the reasons of population's decline was loss of habitat. It's critical now that what we still have can be conserved and protected. Preview's been a big part of that. Couldn't have done it without them, to be honest with you, to protect these last great places. It's been a great success so far. We got some challenges ahead of us, but we're hoping to keep it going.
A lot of people don't realize that bighorn sheep were native to Nebraska. The bighorn sheep technician out in the Wildcat Hills, I've gone out with him a few times to kind of understand what his role is in the bighorn sheep reintroduction.
So each caller sends out a different radio frequency. You just type in their frequency on this transmitter, and my Omni antenna on the roof picks up the signal, and it gets stronger as we get closer. There's around 155 individuals in the Hubbard's Gap herd, and then there's about 50 in the Cedar Canyon herd. The amount of time I spend studying them, kind of just realize that they're kind of like humans. They each have their own individual personalities, and so as often as I see them, you kind of get to learn them as individuals instead of, just bighorn sheep. That's one of our collared ewes right there, red 18 with her collared lamb, white 126. So that's the uncollared lamb. That would be black 122's lamb, little male. That's red 18 and her lamb, white 126, and that is Marco. We start in February with our helicopter capture. We round up 25 ewes. The helicopters are bringing them in 3-4 animals at a time. fit them with GPS collars as well as vits, which alert us when their lambs are born in the spring. Then we go out and catch their lambs within the first day or so after birth while they're still a little unsteady on their feet, while we're able to catch up to them, determine sex, weight, and then fit them with VHF collars, and that allows us to monitor them through the year.
100 to 150 years ago, it was all grazers on this landscape. They were the reason why the Wildcat Hills were the way they were. And so when those sheep were taken out, the landscape changed. Conservation with these bighorn sheep is never done. Bob Smith was the one to introduce me to Gary and Vicki.
Well, I'm Vicki Enlow.
I'm Gary Enlow. We were more or less kind of high school sweethearts.
Sweethearts, yeah. Chemistry class. William Riley, which is my great-great-grandfather, said the boys wanted to come west. My grandfather, AJ, then settled over in what's called the Squaw Canyon. They were ranchers, so they did cattle and horses, and it was mostly a ranching proposition.
I think it went from just living on the land out here with a few cattle in a garden or something. It went to actually the beginnings of production agriculture. What there was to sell out here was grass. Of course, the best means of doing that was through raising cattle.
So they've been here a long time. It's been over 100 years. Well, we live on one of the homestead properties.
Our house that's here, the 1914 portion of it, the Gamble part of it, that was on her grandmother's homestead.
Yeah.
I asked them if they wanted to go out on Carter Canyon Ranch and give me a tour of what their life used to be like. I have seen elk herds on the south pasture of Carter Canyon Ranch before. And so I was like, oh, I really hope that they get to see it too, because they told me that they've never seen an elk herd in Nebraska. So I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. We're gonna go to the south pasture. We're gonna go see if that elk herd is around.
Spent a lot of time down in this pasture.
There they are.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't like us being this close. Yep, there they are.
Oh my.
Give you the lens and you can...
We've wanted to see elk for quite a long time, and Grant spotted some for us, so we're taking a good look at them. Beautiful.
Well, now when people say, have you seen the elk out here? We can actually tell them, yes, we have.
Oh, that is so cool.
That's kind of a new addition.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real rarity when we were
Yeah, they were gone
punching
from
cows
here,
out
yeah,
here.
for a long time. Now you just need a few bison. Throw a few bison out here and everything's here.
My son was not interested in ranching. When we initially contacted Privy, why, it was a way of preserving the land, and it was a way of us still having access, as well as our children and grandchildren and children's children and so forth.
And we're delighted that we still have open access to hike it or
And not
hunt
only-
it or whatever.
It's just where we like to be and where we want to be. It's home.
The dedicated conservationists with Privy, Nebraska Game and Parks, landowners, and ranchers have all made it possible for working landscapes to coexist with wild landscapes. The Wildcat Hills, with the help of these remarkable people, will continue to be resilient and forever wild.